Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast. And today we are going to do the National League of the NBA, going over the teams and really what I think, how I think these teams will do. I do apologize for what the volume might sound like. It still is very low, and it's for some reason not really working. Cause I mean, I'm not being like really quiet or anything. It just has all of a sudden become very quiet, which is very frustrating. But I'll have to figure it out later because I don't know what it is, and I need to get these videos done. So we're going to go over the National League, and we're gonna start with the East. If you haven't seen my American League video, go ahead and watch that. I'll have that here in the description down below. Um, but for the National League, we go right to the beginning. We have the defending World Series champions, the Atlanta Braves. Last year were 88 and 73. This entire division, honestly, was very bad last year. Um, all these teams, major league underperformed, including the Braves. They were very unspecial to start the season, and they finally picked it up towards the end of the year. Like the Mets were in the lead, the Phillies were in the lead, Mets were in the lead. Everybody took turns having the lead in this division. But eventually, the Atlanta Braves would take it at the very end, and ironically enough, the World Series champions, the defending World Series champions, um, had the worst record of all the playoff teams to back his last year, and yet they won the World Series. But the Braves have a very good team, and Atlanta, of course, as I said, they broke the curse for all the Georgia teams. They were the first ones to finally win a championship for Georgia. And then the Bulldogs would do it soon after for football, knocking off the Crimson Tide. So that was nice for Georgia fans, as what people from Georgia. Um, but Atlanta, the Braves, they have a honestly still really good team. I think a lot of people are disappointed that they ended up letting go Freddie Freeman as he would leave his Atlanta Braves and would take off for the LA Dodgers. But the Braves would instead go ahead and trade for Matt Olson, which is a nice player, of course. But I think the Braves are still a little disappointed that don't have their uh, they don't have their their favorite they don't have their favorite Freddie Freeman. Um, Another thing for the Braves, they went out and got themselves a. So they did lose. While the Braves did lose, uh, they lost Freeman to the Dodgers. Well, they decided to take the Dodgers closer, as they would go ahead and take Kenley Jansen away from the LA Dodgers and bring him into Atlanta, and would move Will Smith, their original closer, into the setup role, which creates a nice duo at the bullpen position for Atlanta. You got Max Fried along with at the starting pitching spot. Ian Anderson. Is Ian Anderson the Brave? I think he is. Yeah. But the Braves have all kinds of very good pieces. Obviously, Ronald Acuna's gonna will be back at some point during this season. It's just a matter of when he comes back from his torn ACL. Obviously, not an easy injury to come back from. Of course, the Braves also have Austin Riley, so this is a very good Dansby Swanson. Good team for Atlanta. I think they'll be a playoff team once again. Win the World Series? Don't know about that, but they'll be in the playoffs again. Philadelphia Phillies. They came up short in the East last year. They were 82 and 80, as you can see right there. The Phillies, their team has a couple pieces and parts, and really, other than that, it kind of lacks at every other position. They do have Gene Segura, who's a good player. They have Bryce Harper, of course, when they got him from the Nationals, and he wasn't great to start, but this past season he was very, very good. Of course, they have starting pitcher Aaron Nola, so they have a couple good pieces, but I don't think this is a Phillies team that's going to see the playoffs. It could, but I don't. I'm not big on the Phillies this year. They could do more of that same record and more of the right around 500. I think that's basically their ceiling. Um, I see the Phillies being more of that same position, and judging on just the rest of these teams, I don't think this is going to be enough for Philadelphia to get into the playoffs. New York Mets. Well, yeah, New York teams they love to spend money, and we all know this. The Yankees and the Mets they just love spending money, and that's exactly what the Mets did. They went out and they got themselves Max Scherzer. So yeah, and Max Scherzer, just mind you, Max Scherzer, just his contract is is more than whole teams' payrolls. So that's how much money the Mets actually gave Max Scherzer. But and then the Mets, of course, they also have Jacob DeGrom, who is now out for a couple months, for like 2 months, I think, probably because of a brand new injury that has once again plagued him. They also still have Carlos Carrasco, so their starting pitching is very good. You have Francisco Lindor as their shortstop, and he didn't adjust very well in his first year with the Mets. He was actually very bad to start off the year. He got a little better, but he still was. It was still was not a good year for him, and really overall for the Mets, it was just a very disappointing year all around. And so uh, guys like Francisco Lindor are really going to have to perform well this year. Obviously, Javi Baez is now gone as he's signed with the Tigers, but you still have you have Lindor. But they really the Mets are really going to have to get better in the offensive department and be able to actually get the bat in the ball, get some runs on the board to help their team. I mean, we saw how good DeGrom was. I mean, obviously they have Pete Alonso, Francis, like I said, I keep talking about Lindor. They have Lindor. I believe their catchers James McCann, which is kind of funny. Eduardo Escobar, Marcan, Starling Marte. So they have good players across the board. Their offense, they can hit, but it's just a matter of them actually doing so. This team has good players and can be better than this, but they have to play like it, and they did not play like it last year. We'll see if they do it this year, but I think the big one is going to be Francisco Lindor actually looking good, and Jacob DeGrom staying healthy. Of course, Scherzer's hurt too, but I don't. He's probably not going to be out for that long, if at all. Miami Marlins. Yeah, Miami Marlins. Um, I don't really like their new logo. I like the old one way better, but that's beside the point. The Marlins last year were not good, and this year will not be good. Marlins have a long way to go. They're still in the rebuilding phase. They don't really have much of any great players. They have young prospects coming up, but I expect them to be right around the same record. I don't think the Marlins are going to be a team competing for anything. The Nationals, it's really more the same thing. Patrick Corbin does not look good. They don't really. They have Juan Soto is good. They have a couple nice players. They'll probably be a little bit better, but I don't think the Nationals are going to be in any contention for a playoff spot. Um, I mean, they obviously they were the first ones to jump on the new designated hitter that'll be integrated into the National League, where they went out and got Nelson Cruz. But this team still lacks really pitching. They lack starting pitching. They lack really much of a bullpen. They don't really have, I think, the players needed to win. And of course, they traded away Trey Turner and Max Scherzer last year, as they gave them both away to the Dodgers. So they're looking to tear it down. They're looking to rebuild, and they're starting to enter that rebuilding phase. I'd expect them to do more of the same really this year. They're probably not going to go much of anywhere. Now we go to the NL Central, of which the top team is the um, sorry, is the Milwaukee Brewers. Almost said Bucks. Milwaukee Brewers. And the Brewers are really good. Okay, the Brewers are absolutely loaded. Their pitching is very good with Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. Those two are nasty starters. Their two their closer and setup guy are both nasty with Josh Hader and Devin Williams. Their pitching is really stinking good, and then you got their hitting of Christian Yelich, and uh, they have all kinds of just really good players. This is a very good Milwaukee team. Expect this team to be among the best in the National League in terms of record. I mean, obviously we have the NL West teams, which will probably be the best records in the league. But I mean, the Brewers, I think, will certainly be right there. I mean, this is a very good team with Adames, Yelich, They have Hunter Renfroe, Willie Adames. They actually did sign Andrew McCutchen over the years, so that was interesting. Um, Lorenzo McCain, or I'm sorry, Lorenzo Kane. This is a good team, and Colton Wong. So they have hitters, and of course, as I said, the pitching is far and away very good. So this Milwaukee team is really going to have some fun, and they'll be back in the playoffs for yet another season. I don't think there's really any question that they'll be back in the playoffs once again. And so now we head to the St. Louis Cardinals, who last year weren't really going much of anywhere, and then all of a sudden they just went crazy. The Cardinals just out of nowhere. I mean, they weren't really. I mean, they were having a decent year and it had been looking like okay, but then they went on what was it, that 17 game winning streak, and they just blew everyone else out of the water. I mean, it felt like there was a couple teams that are in the running for the last wild card spot, and then the Cardinals came out of nowhere, win like win like I said 16, 17 in a row or something like that, and out of nowhere get to the wild card game right before everybody else could. And so that really just came out of nowhere. But the Cardinals team, honestly, they had some good players with Paul DeJong, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Tommy Edman. Uh, they have Dylan Carlson. They did bring back Albert Pujols, which will be very cool. Obviously, Yadier Molina, Tyler O'Neill. So this is a very good offense. They have guys who can hit and put that bat on the ball. Pitching is not exactly the greatest in the world. Um, their their closer's pretty good with Giovanni Gallegos as their closer, with Alex Reyes being out for a while. But they have Adam Wainwright, who, I mean, he's obviously very up there in age, but he can still pitch. And then you got Jack Flaherty. He's a young guy, but he has not been able to stay healthy, and so it's been a bit of a problem for uh, for the Cardinals. You guys, they did sign Steven Matz, which was a nice signing for them. And really, other than that, their starting pitching isn't necessarily that special. But they have some good pitchers, and they have a nice hitting lineup. And so I think this team definitely is poised to be right in there, right in the wild card mix. I think they'll be right there. I don't think they'll be ahead of the Milwaukee Brewers, but they'll be in the wild card mix for sure. Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati's an interesting team. Um, I'm not big on the Reds. They don't really have a ton of players. They do have Joey Votto, Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson, Tommy Pham, Mike Moustaskis, Tyler Naquin. I mean, their hitters are okay at most. And then their pitching, obviously, they have Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahl. Um, Hunter Green is an up and coming prospect for him, so that'll be big time to see what he's like. Mike Minor, they do have, but he's hurt right now, and really they don't have the greatest greatest bullpen whatsoever. So we're really going to see. And I'm not a big, like I said, I'm not a big Reds fan, but we'll see how it goes for the Reds. Um, but I'd say they'll probably be below 500. I don't think the Reds will have like a fantastic year or anything like that. Cubs are entering their next rebuilding phase. It's not a good team. They do have Nick Madrigal, Wilson Contreras, Jonathan Villar, Ian Happ. Um, but this is a team that's looking to rebuild, of course. Pitching, Marcus Stroman, Kyle Hendricks, Wade Miley, Juice Smiley. There's not really like a crap ton of guys for the Cubs, but this is a team that's entering a rebuilding phase. They're gonna be in the rebuilding phase for a couple years, and we'll see what happens when they look to come out of it. And same goes for the Pirates. They are very much in the rebuilding phase. This is not a good team. Brian Reynolds is like the only good player that they have. Other than that, they don't really have much of anything else. So this team's gonna have some problems. They're gonna struggle. This is not a good Pirates team. They're gonna be rebuilding for a while. I think we pretty much just have to get used to it. Um, this one's going a lot faster than the American League. And so now we head to the NL West, of which we have a lot of interesting looking teams. We're gonna start with the top team here, and that is the San Francisco Giants. My goodness, where on earth did this team come from? This was the biggest shock of the year last year. Really, the Giants and the Red Sox, both are kind of similar teams. A lot of old and aging guys who really haven't looked like, their old selves for a couple years. And then this last year, just all of a sudden out of nowhere, looked like their prime selves again. And the Giants were nothing short of just incredible. And the Giants, I mean, they're obviously, you can see right there, Giants and Dodgers were in a two-way race as they were both fighting for that top position um, to try and hold on to that last top spot. And the Giants almost gave it away, but they still held on to it, and they would still win the division, and the Dodgers would stick in the wild card spot. It was fun seeing those two in the playoffs play each other too. Those were really good games. I still think the Giants probably should have won, but they didn't. They fell short to the Dodgers, and they would move on, and the Dodgers would move on to play the Braves, and they'd lose to the Braves. But the Giants. This is a really good. This team. I mean, it's gonna depend on if their old aging players can do what they did last year. Because this is still is not a team that's very young. This is still a very old team. And the guy that they did trade for last year when they had such a great start, and Chris Bryant, has left for a division rival in the Colorado Rockies, as we'll get to them later. But the Giants, this team, it depends on if they can get. They did get Carlos Rodon from the White Sox, who has injury problems, but he was good. He has been good when he is healthy. So that'll be big for the Giants, but it's really going to depend on if their old aging guys can still do it and still play, and that's a big risk. But you never know. We'll see if it works. I think it's a bit of a risk, but we'll find out, I suppose. Next, we have what I think is far and away the best team in all of MLB baseball, the LA Dodgers. I'm sorry, this team is just so overloaded, and this is a team that I feel like the New York Yankees are becoming the new LA Lakers of the NBA, or not the NBA. I feel like the New York Yankees are becoming the LA Lakers of the MLB, but the Dodgers are just a team that just reload every single year and just keep just throwing all kinds of just ridiculous stars together, like really like the Brooklyn Nets, I guess I would say, because like the Nets, they signed Kevin Durant, they signed Kyrie Irving. But this year the Dodgers, they have Walker Bueller as their starting pitcher. And they have Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias. I'm not big on him. They have Tony Goslin. Yeah, whatever. Trevor Bauer, he is still on the commissioner's exempt list, or I don't know if they call it the commissioner's list in this, but he's being investigated for sexual assault stuff, and that still has not been resolved since last year. So he is not going to be playing for the Dodgers just yet. Blake Treinen will be the setup guy, and Craig Kimbrell, who they got from the Chicago White Sox in a trade, sending AJ Pollock to the White Sox. Well, Craig Kimbrell will probably be the Dodgers closer. And the Dodgers, their offense has, I mean, let's just go over their absolutely overloaded roster. I'm not a Dodgers fan. I really hate the Dodgers. I mean, their team is very good, but it just annoys me when, I mean, their team is just so good. I mean, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger, Justin Turner, Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux. I mean, that's their starting lineup. I mean, Trey Turner, I mean, he's a top player. He gets plenty of hits. He gets on base all the time. Mookie Betts, he's an outstanding player. Freddie Freeman, he's an outstanding player. Will Smith, he's one of the best catchers there is. Max Muncy, very good player. Cody Bellinger gets hurt a lot, but I mean, if he ever finds his former self, oh no. Justin Turner's very good. Chris Taylor, I guess he's not the greatest, but he's still a good player. And Gavin Lux, he's a young prospect. We don't know if he'll actually look good, but I mean, now the door is open for him. But you would see what I'm saying. I mean, this is a team that, I mean, everybody on it is absolutely insanely good. So I think the Dodgers are far and away the best team. I think the Giants will take a step down. They might end up making it to the playoffs, but I don't know if the Giants are gonna. The Giants aren't gonna do what they did last year, and I think the Dodgers might end up getting like 110, 120 wins. I mean, that's how good they are. The Dodgers are going to be very good this year. Expect a lot of success from them unless they have like 30 million injuries, which I don't think will happen for them. They might have a couple guys get hurt, like the Clayton Kershaws and Cody Bellingers, but this team even has great depth. So I think the West is going to have trouble with that team, as they're just going to terrorize all the teams that they play every single time. And next, we go on to what was a huge disappointment last year. A team that was expected to be very good and really completely flopped, and that was the the San Diego Padres. Um, San Diego, they had a really good group of three at pitching. Like the Dodgers' big three last year was Scherzer, Kershaw, and Trevor Bauer. For the Padres, it was going to be sorry. For the Padres, it's going to be you, Darvish, Mike Clevinger, Joe Musgrove. Didn't they have somebody else? But the Padres starting lineup was supposed to be really good too, and they were expected to be the team that would compete with the Dodgers and be neck and neck right with Blake Snell. That was their third guy. I'm sorry. Yeah, you Darvish, Mike Clevinger, Blake Snell, and then they had Joe Musgrove as well on the team. But the big thing for the Dodgers was, for the Padres was they were expected to be the team that would compete with the Dodgers and be side by side with them. Now, ironically enough, it was not the Padres, but a different team in the West, and the San Francisco Giants, which nobody saw coming. But the Padres, I mean, Blake Snell did not really play well. Mike Clevinger was hurt all year long. He obviously got Tommy John surgery. He is expected to maybe be back for the Padres this year. You Darvish, he had a pretty good year with the Padres. But this year now, the Padres honestly look like they have a really good team again. And I mean, their hitters, obviously you have Fernando Tatis. He's gonna be out for a while, which is a huge loss for San Diego. But they do have C.J. Abrams coming up from the minors, big time prospect. We'll see how he turns out. but that'll be a big key for the Padres. They still have Manny Machado, Jay Cronenworth. You have both Voit and Eric Hosmer. We'll see how those two work out. Will Myers is supposedly expected to be a backup, but you have Will Myers, Trent Gresham. Um, very, very good overall team. And I'm really curious to see how this team finally turns out after yet another season. I think the Padres do have certainly a team, and I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens with them. They have their closing room. They don't have Mark Melancon; he is now gone, but they do have a guy from. They do have a Japanese closer who is coming over from, of course, Japan. He's been playing with over there a couple years. He's expected to be their brand new closer. So I'll be curious to see how what he looks like. But this is a San Diego Padres team I think has a ton of potential. And if it does work out very well, and if they can survive long enough without Tatis for as long as it'll have to be, because who knows when he'll come back? I think it's supposed to be like mid June, maybe late June, maybe even early July. But for the Padres, if they can get everyone together and their team plays well and it doesn't underperform like it did last year and everybody stays healthy, this Padre team is going to be very difficult to deal with. And I think they'll definitely make a play for the playoffs, but they have to stay healthy. Health has got to be the main priority for this San Diego team, and if it doesn't stay healthy, they might have more the same year if they did. But this is a team that has way more talent than just this record right here. I think they'll be significantly better, but they have to stay healthy. And then next is the biggest gimmick of the MLB, the Colorado Rockies. Now, this is a team that is significantly helped out by their infamous home field, of which they're very good at their home field. They play very well at home at Coors Field, and they suck everywhere else. But the Colorado Rockies, this is a team, they do have some good players. They signed a massive contract with Chris Bryant, so I'm very curious to see how that goes, because obviously Coors Field is infamous for its very thin air, of which the ball infamously carries in. It's very easy to hit home runs in. It makes it difficult for pitchers when they pitch there. So it'll be very curious to see what the Rockies look like. But they have a couple nice players. I mean, they dealt away Nolan Arenado. Trevor Story is gone, but they did sign, as I said, Chris Bryant this past off season. So I mean, and you have C.J. Cron, Charlie Blackmon, Ryan McMahon, who's they did sign Jose Iglesias. I don't think he'll be starting. Um, but they have some nice hitter. They have a decent. They have some decent hitters, and they have some pitchers. Um, if this team wants to be able to go anywhere, this team is going to have to be better on the road. Because as much as I mean, you look at this home record. I mean, this home record honestly is pretty doggone good. I mean, 48-33. I mean, you look at the Phillies and the Mets. They both are pretty good. But like the home teams, like the Milwaukee Brewers, they did better than the Brewers did at their own home stadium, or even the Padres. They're better than the Padres were at home. Or I mean, you look up here, they're better than the Yankees at home, or the Blue Jays at home. So for the Rockies, they're very good at home, and I mean, of course, they are. They have the gimmick of Coors Field, like I said, but that road record, that is the thing. That's what stands out right here. That record is absolutely deplorable, and I mean, the team below them, shockingly, is still worse. But I mean, it's still and actually the Pirates are worse too. But for a team with that kind of record, you have to get wins on the road. You cannot, and I think for like almost like over half the year, I think like towards the end of the year, they still had like only 10 wins on the road. I mean, it was bad. So they have to figure out what they got to figure out a way to be able to play in road games. Now I get it. Your field's a gimmick, and so it is hard to adjust. But if this is all the better you can do on the road, you're gonna have problems ever being able to compete on any kind of level. And I think that could be if that record does not improve and it stays around there again this year, that's gonna be the downfall of the Rockies. But if that record improves by I don't know, say 10 wins, the Rockies could be in a pretty good position. But that road record has to improve. It cannot be that bad again. And then you have the Arizona Diamondbacks. Yeah, they are bad. Now, they did sign Mark Melancon and Ian Kennedy, which doesn't make a lot of sense because those are both guys you would kind of expect to sign elsewhere. So they actually have a uniquely good, uh, they have a uniquely actually pretty stinking good duo in their bullpen, but they kind of lack the rest of their team. So I don't know how that's going to work. The Diamondbacks are very bad. I must mind you, this is a very, very bad Diamondbacks team. This might be. I mean, the Orioles are pretty bad. This might be the worst team in baseball. They have some pretty bad players on this team. But they still have Cattell Marte. I mean Carson Kelly. There's still at least something in terms of hitting. And then pitching, you have Zach Gallen. He doesn't really stay healthy, but if he does, it'll be nice. Madison Bumgarner's long past his days, but he was at least. He actually wasn't horrible last year. He had a decent start and then kind of fell off at the end. But it's clear this is not a good Arizona team. They might probably be a little bit better than this record at least, but they're still not going to be good. And I expect them to be more the same, just very bad once again. But that's all I have for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Um, I'm gonna try and fix that sound problem because you probably can't hear me very well, but I'll try and fix that soon. I'll see you guys later. Until next time, adios, everyone.